Okay, so in the first part of this lecture, we talked about the first step in the sensation experience, where we go from the periphery to the spinal cord. So those sensory endings and mechanoreceptors and thermoreceptors, all the different receptors, take that sensory information to the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, where they synapse with other neurons. Okay, so the second step in the sensation experience is where the action potential arrives from the peripheral axon. It's conducted to the soma of that cell in the dorsal root ganglion and into the spinal cord. So it's those pseudo unipolar neurons. So the receptor information, this one is on showing a muscle spindle, goes up to the dorsal root ganglion, which includes the cell body of that sensory neuron. The information goes out the other axon, because the pseudo-unipolar has two axons and no dendrites, into the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, where it synapses with another neuron. In this picture, this is a spinal reflex arc, so the information doesn't actually get to the brain. It's all processed in the spinal cord. So the afferent sensory neuron synapses with an efferent motor neuron through an intermediary interneuron in the spinal cord. So the withdrawal reflex doesn't require a second order neuron to go to the cerebral cortex, get the orders for the action to be initiated, helps you get your hand out of the fire faster. When you stick your hand in the fire, it just goes processed in the spinal cord, you can get it right out of there. So in this case, it's a 3-neuron pathway from sensory experience to motor action. So that is a super quick pathway. Sensory nerve comes in to the cell body in the dorsal root ganglion. It goes out the second axon because it's a pseudo-unipolar. It synapses with an interneuron in the spinal cord, which then goes a short way, quickly synapses with a motor neuron in the ventral horn. That motor neuron goes right out to the muscle and says, "Get your hand out of the fire, you crazy person." Okay? So that's a really quick pathway. So we're going to start to talk now about the pathways that go to the brain, in which the first order neuron, which is that sensory receptor neuron, same thing, it comes up to the dorsal root ganglion, to the cell body of that neuron. The impulse goes out the other axon, but instead of synapsing with an interneuron in the spinal cord, it synapses with a second order neuron that is going to go to the cerebral cortex, and something else is going to happen. Okay, so there is a video that most of the videos I say they're optional to watch. I think this 4-minute video on spinal cord anatomy and organization is a really good one to sort of get the organization of the spinal cord and how the different tracks run in those different areas of the spinal cord. It's really short, it's very clear, it's a nice explanation, so I'd really like you to watch this one because I think it'll help. So after you've watched this, come back and watch the third part of the Chapter 6 lecture, which will be the third step in the sensation experience.